What makes human beings different from every other species that has ever lived on this planet? Not our strength, gorillas are stronger. Not our speed, cheetahs are faster. Not even our intelligence, other animals are remarkably clever. So what is it? What allowed one relatively weak, average-sized primate from the plains of Africa to take over the entire planet, building cities, launching rockets, connecting billions of minds in what is, by the scale of the universe, barely the blink of an eye? Welcome to Book Essence, where we unlock the essence of every book, so you get the wisdom without spending weeks reading. Today, we are exploring one of the most mind-expanding, perspective-shattering books ever written, Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. This book does not just tell you about history, it completely changes how you see yourself, your society, and what it means to be human. Let us unlock it. Harari begins roughly 70,000 years ago with what he calls the cognitive revolution. Before this point, Homo Sapiens were just one of several human species living on Earth. We were not dominant, we were not special, we were prey as much as predators. Then something happened in the human brain. Researchers are not entirely sure what caused it, possibly a genetic mutation, possibly a gradual neurological shift. But the result was extraordinary. Humans developed the ability to think and communicate in an entirely new way. Not just about real things, the lion by the river, the fruit on the tree, but about things that exist only in the imagination. Myths, stories, beliefs, gods, nations, money, laws. Harari calls these shared fictions, and he argues that the ability to create and believe in shared fictions is the single most powerful capability any species has ever developed. Here's why it matters so much. A chimpanzee troop can cooperate, but only in groups of about 50. Beyond that, the social bonds break down. There is simply no way to coordinate 1,000 chimpanzees toward a shared goal. But humans, through shared stories and beliefs, can coordinate millions of strangers who've never met, who speak different languages, who live thousands of miles apart. An army fights not because every soldier knows every other soldier. They fight because they share a story, a nation, a flag, a belief worth defending. A corporation functions not because every employee has a personal relationship with every other. They function because they share a belief in the company's mission, its brand, its value. Shared fictions are not weaknesses. They are the most powerful organizing force in human history. Approximately 12,000 years ago, humans made a decision that Harari calls one of the most consequential in our species' history. We settled down. We started farming. Most people assume this was straightforwardly good. More food, more stability, the beginning of civilization. Harari challenges this completely. He argues that the agricultural revolution was history's biggest fraud, not for humanity as a whole, but for individual humans. Before farming, hunter-gatherers worked roughly 4 hours a day. They ate a diverse, nutritious diet of wild plants and animals. They lived in small, mobile communities with rich social bonds. Archaeological evidence suggests they were generally healthier, taller, and had more leisure time than early farmers. Farming produced more calories, but of fewer types. It required backbreaking daily labor. It produced surpluses that had to be stored and defended, which required armies, which required taxes, which required rulers. The wheat did not make humans better off. The wheat made humans serve it, spending their lives planting it, watering it, protecting it. Harari's point is not that farming was a mistake, it's that what looks like progress is not always progress for the individuals living through it, and that the stories we tell about history are rarely as simple as they first appear. One of the most fascinating threads running through Sapiens is the question of how humanity went from millions of small, separate, mutually suspicious groups to a single, globally connected civilization. Harari identifies 3 great unifying forces. The first is money. Money is perhaps the most successful shared fiction in human history. A piece of paper has no inherent value. A number in a digital account has no physical existence. But because everyone agrees to believe in its value, it works across cultures, across centuries, across languages. A merchant in ancient Rome and a trader in ancient China could do business together through the shared fiction of money, even if they shared no language, no religion, and no culture. The second unifying force is empire. Throughout history, empires have been extraordinarily effective at spreading languages, laws, technologies, and ideas across vast territories, often through terrible violence, but with undeniable cultural consequences. The third is religion. Shared belief systems gave millions of strangers a common framework for understanding the world, governing behavior, and cooperating toward shared goals. Together, money, empire, and religion gradually pulled humanity's scattered tribes into an increasingly connected global civilization. Roughly 500 years ago, something happened that Harari considers the most important turning point in human history since the cognitive revolution. Humans admitted that they did not know the most important things. This sounds simple. It was revolutionary. For most of human history, every culture believed it already had the essential answers in sacred texts, in ancestral wisdom, in divine revelation. The scientific revolution was built on a different foundation entirely: the willingness to say, "We do not know," and the commitment to find out through observation and experiment. This admission of ignorance, combined with the systematic pursuit of knowledge, unleashed a wave of discovery that transformed everything: medicine, agriculture, communication, transportation, energy. In 500 years, human capabilities expanded more than the previous 50,000. Harari makes a crucial connection here between science and empire. Scientific progress was not just driven by curiosity, it was driven by power. European empires funded scientific research because knowledge translated into military and economic advantage, and scientific advance funded further imperial expansion. Science and power grew together, producing the modern world with all its extraordinary capabilities and its terrible shadow. One of the most powerful and uncomfortable questions Harari raises in this book is this: has all of this progress actually made us happier? We live longer than any humans in history. We have access to more food, medicine, entertainment, and comfort than any previous generation could have imagined. Yet rates of anxiety, depression, and loneliness are at historic highs across the developed world. Harari explores several possible explanations. One is that happiness is largely determined by the gap between our expectations and our reality, not by our absolute conditions. A medieval peasant with enough food to eat might have felt deeply satisfied. A modern person with every material comfort, but whose neighbor just bought a larger house, might feel like a failure. Rising standards do not necessarily produce rising happiness if expectations rise even faster. Another possibility Harari raises is that much of what we believe will make us happy, wealth, success, achievement, recognition, is itself a shared fiction, a story our culture tells us, that we absorb without examining whether it reflects what genuinely produces well-being. What are we becoming? Harari ends Sapiens with a question that is as important as anything else in the book. We have spent 70,000 years becoming the most powerful species in the history of this planet. We have conquered disease, distance, hunger, and darkness. We are now beginning to redesign life itself through genetic engineering, artificial intelligence, and technologies that would have seemed miraculous to every previous generation. But Harari asks, do we know what we want? Do we know what we are becoming? Do we know what kind of world we are building and whether it will be good for the humans who live in it? He argues that for all our scientific and technological progress, we remain as confused as ever about the most fundamental questions. What is a good life? What makes human beings genuinely happy? What do we owe to each other and to other species? What kind of future do we actually want? These are not scientific questions, they are human questions, and no algorithm, no technology, no empire can answer them for us. We have to answer them ourselves, and we are running out of time to do it thoughtfully. Let us bring together the greatest lessons from Sapiens. 1. The cognitive revolution gave humans the unique ability to create and believe in shared fictions, myths, money, nations, corporations, and this ability is the foundation of all human cooperation and civilization. 2. The agricultural revolution was more complicated than it appears. Progress for a species does not always mean progress for individuals. 3. Money, empire, and religion were the three great forces that unified humanity across cultures and centuries. 4. The scientific revolution began with the radical admission that we do not know and unleashed the most powerful wave of discovery in human history. 5. Material progress does not automatically produce happiness. What we expect shapes what we feel as much as what we actually have. 6. With all our power, we still lack clarity about what we want, what we are becoming, and what kind of future we are building. That clarity is the most urgent project of our time.
Yuval Noah Harari ends with a challenge that echoes long after you close the book. We are more powerful than ever before, but have very little idea what to do with all that power. Is there anything more dangerous than dissatisfied and irresponsible gods who do not know what they want? That is the essence of Sapiens, and that is what we do here at Book Essence. We take the world's most powerful books and unlock their wisdom, so you can see yourself and your world with completely new eyes. If this video expanded your thinking, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves to question everything. Every week on Book Essence, a new book, a new lesson, a new chance to grow. Until next time, keep reading, keep growing, and keep unlocking your essence. See you in the next one.